And hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wartburg Infusion Entertainment Review. It's episode number 28 for us. I'm your host, Thomas, aka Mr. Wartburg. Alongside me as my co host, as always, is Patrick, aka Mr. Fusion.
Greetings and salutations, everybody.
Now, we're recording this a little early over on our Twitch channel as Fusion's got his baseball to go watch because, unlike me, he has a team that can be successful in the postseason in the Houston Astros. Not like the Twins, who've lost 18 straight postseason games. A mind blowing statistic.
Well, you're an ALCS team, AL team as well, so I'm sure you're happy to see the Red Sox going down and
Oh,
the
yeah.
Yankees going
Yes,
down. All of them just crumbling.
I'm game for it. Bring it on.
Just
Fuck the
bring it on,
Yankees.
right?
We always, and it's always the Twins losing to the Yankees. Like 8 of the last series they've lost have been to the Yankees. Fuck the Yankees is
Yep.
all I'm about. But that's enough sports talk.
Yeah.
If you are listening to this after the fact, we are streaming over at twitch.tv/MrWartburg. That's MrWartburg. We do this every other week and then put it up on YouTube and our audio sources like Spotify, Apple, any like Google podcast service. We're on a bunch of different ones. So if you're listening after the fact and want to get in on the show live, like Logic Killer, who's here in our chat today, and anybody else that pops by, you should check out over there. So on tap for today, we're talking Dune. We're going to talk a little of me seeing The Last Duel, because Fusion hasn't seen that. We're going to talk the DC Fandome, some of the trailers and announcements that came out of that event the DC put on last week. I'm going to talk about a mutual show that like Fusion is very interested in getting canceled, that being Why the Last Man. Some other trailer news. The Uncharted trailer dropped this morning to a resounding eh. And GTA Remastered Trilogy dropped today. The news of it, at least officially out, that it will be launching November 11th digital and physical later in December. So that's the plan for today. So Fusion, what have you been up to? It's been a couple of weeks. Beyond seeing Dune, as we know we've all discussed, we're going to talk about that. What have you been doing?
Playing a little bit of games here and there, but mostly, of course, you mentioned sports, a lot going on with that. But look, I caught up on some old movies just because I was sifting through Netflix and HBO Max, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna watch that. Leon the Professional, love that movie. Jean Reno is great in that. Natalie Portman's first acting role ever, and she's just phenomenal in it as well. Zodiac, gotta love the Zodiac killer.
Especially timely
David
because they
Fincher.
just ID'd him
Yeah,
potentially.
yeah,
Maybe.
okay. So there was a third party group, and then
The police
actual
are saying no.
they're saying whatever they said is bullshit. Okay, whatever. But I still think it's Arthur Lee Allen. Whatever. Warm Bodies. Did you remember that movie
Oh
from a
yeah,
few years
the
back?
zombie one with like Rob Corddry and stuff.
Yeah, Rob Corddry, Teresa Palmer, and Nicholas. How do you say his name? Hewlett.
Oh, maybe I can't
Hewlett?
remember.
Holt. Nicholas Holt. You're right. He was the guy I actually wanted to play the Batman in Matt Reeves' Batman. That's who I wanted to. So Pattinson's got some big shoes to fill, man, because I thought he would be perfect for that role. So yeah, I've been watching some old movies, catching up on those things, and then DC Fandome, Dune, of course, was the big thing for me. I caught that at 5 o'clock as soon as it hit 5 o'clock Central Time on Thursday. Boom, turned it on, let's go. So yeah, man, that's what I've been catching up on, some old films. And then Why the Last Man, unfortunately it's been canceled. We'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, just a little bit here and there, sprinkle some stuff. Because we mentioned it before, December is content month for us. There's a ton of content. So it's like easing my way in, like just kind of stretching like a competitive eater, stretching out my content gut because I don't want to overdo myself and throw up content everywhere, regurgitate it all over my keyboard. So yeah, just getting ready for December, man. That's what
Yeah,
I'm doing.
that's gonna be a great time.
Oh,
So
yeah.
for me, like you said, went and saw Dune. I saw it opening night, of course, last night with Joey. Saw it in the biggest screen I could get to, at least, within an hour of myself. I went and saw The Last Duel, like I mentioned. That I saw matinee last weekend. Also, just fun time at the movies. So I'll get into that in a little bit. Been finished up Hades. I got to the epilogue finally, so I'm like 65 hours in finally on that. So I think I'm done with Hades more or less. Moving on to some other stuff, as Extra Life is right around the corner. So I'm working on planning that. I got a bunch of wood burnings that are like sitting behind me. You can maybe see it, the X-Wing down there. That one's being given away. I got a whole bunch of stuff. Been watching Why the Last Man, Titans, Doom Patrol, and one thing that came out of DC Fandome was hey, it's out right now. Young Justice Season 4 is here, and it clearly has a way bigger budget than Season 3 did.
Right.
Like, it is way better already. And it's actually focusing on some of the OG characters, which is nice. Similar one of those like time jumps Where in universe, the show's been around. Like in real life, I want to say 2012 was when it came out. It's 2021 now, but in universe, they've actually done enough time jumps where 10 years has passed, which is so
Okay.
it's like the longest continuous stretch of like a DC continuity I can recall seeing where in universe that much time has actually passed.
Yeah,
And it's a
yeah,
really fleshed out world of the DC Comics world. It's an alternate universe thing. It's like Earth 16 or something, but it's a really cool look at the DC universe, and I'm a big fan of it. And yeah, other than that, that's mostly what I've been up to, other than watching a lot of trailers and streams while I'm wood burning. So that
sure.
eats up a lot of time. So where do we want to start? So do we want to start with Dune, or do we want to ease into Dune?
I say we ease into Dune because there's just like Dune itself, there's a lot to talk about. It's an encompassing thing. So I think we should start with the fandom and possibly, you know what? Let's talk about Why the Last Man real quick. Let's get this over with. So they canceled it. They announced Hulu was announcing they canceled it this week. But there's some stories that have come out since that news first broke earlier this week, and that was that apparently it wasn't ratings or viewership that caused them to cancel this. It wasn't even the per episode budget because I think the price per episode for to run the show was 8 million per episode. I think the biggest obstacle they were worried about is due to COVID, they didn't want to re-option the talent again because they did that because remember this was filmed most of 2019 and it kind of just they did some reshoots last year but they COVID really slowed down those reshoots and they did recasting because so they shot in 19 early 19, scrapped the pilot, recasted all like five major roles, then went forward with the pilot, then shot the whole season, most of it in 2019, and then they had to come back in 2020 through periodically through COVID to reshoot, scenes for all the episodes. And during that time, because we're talking about a 2 year window, they had to option the talent, and it cost them like somewhere between $3 to $5 million. And it sounds like Hulu didn't want to risk re-optioning people out again because of COVID. It just wasn't worth it to them at the end of the day. So that's the rumor I heard from like had come out from one of the executives. They're shopping it. Apparently, HBO Max is jumping aboard because it is a DC Vertigo property. It makes sense. It should have been there to begin with. Let's be real. I didn't, thought it was weird. It was on FX, but whatever.
And well,
Um,
this one has a long enough development tail. It's been in
yeah.
development longer than HBO Max was even like a pipe dream.
That's true. That's true. Because we
Yeah,
had what was it? HBO Go and DC Universe. That's
yeah,
and remember we talked about this before. Swamp Thing fell into purgatory hell because of that.
yeah.
Because it was on DC Universe, and then HBO Max is like we're pulling everything in, and Swamp Thing was still in production, and they were just like, yeah, we're scrapping the last few episodes. Oh wait, let's just go ahead and finish the last three episodes, and all that disaster happened. But I mean, hopefully it does get picked up by HBO Max because it is a good show. It's not like one of these mind-blowing superhero comic books. It's just like a long story to tell that has really good arcs, but it's mostly about character development, and I just don't think people were ready for that, man. I really thought that the casual TV viewer was like, "Where are the zombies? Where's the big super horror twist to this?" And there's nothing there. Okay, it's not a good show because people have gotten used to that with The Walking Dead, the wake what's the other Walking Dead show right now?
Fear the Walking Dead.
Fear the Walking Dead. I think just all the zombie stuff has really got folks programmed that they're waiting for all the men to rise up or something, which isn't what the story's about. It's about building a whole new world. So maybe it does get picked up on HBO Max. They don't really give a shit about budgets, when it comes to cost per episode. They just want to put good content and maybe that'll be the right place for season 2 onward. You talked about the Expanse moving from, sci-fi over to Amazon and
Yeah,
production shot up through the roof at that point. So maybe that happens here as well. I don't know. It sucks because I'm a big fan of the property, man. I really am. And it's just I wished it would have worked out. I just was it a great show? I thought it was a really good show. I just thought like I knew what I know the source material, so I wasn't shocked by a lot of it. Now I liked some of the adaptation to some of the characters and like the groups and stuff, but just it is what it is, man. These things happen, but it sounds like Hulu is making a budget saver here. They were trying to clip some coupons. They didn't want to pay
yeah.
that
And
those
Hulu's in a
options.
weird spot where they don't
Yeah.
really know where their future's gonna be because what the hell's Disney doing? You know?
Yeah, and we talk about this ad nauseum. Like, hey, if they're bringing back Jessica Jones and Daredevil, it doesn't make sense to put them on Disney Plus and PG them because then people will be mad. it makes sense to put them on Hulu, so then Hulu becomes really a Disney property, for their adult material, which is what we said when they acquired Fox, all the Fox stuff, that they should have just made Hulu outright the Disney adult channel.
They could
It would have
certainly
been fun.
afford to buy out all the shares and be like, it's entirely our company.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think didn't NBC Universal like 5 years, 6 years ago just completely like just gave up on
I
it, like their
think,
shares,
I
like
think,
they didn't
but
want.
there's still some stuff in limbo where it's not entirely Disney's court to play with.
Okay,
But Hulu's in a weird spot, unlike like HBO, which is it's
yeah,
wholly HBO's thing.
yeah,
But then again, we'll see what happens with the whole AT&T situation. Like,
right,
is
right,
Congress going to go after them and break them up again? I don't know.
yeah,
You know, if anyone's primed for that, it's a company like AT&T.
yeah,
To
yeah.
get broken back up into different parts.
It sucks, but it wasn't canceled solely because it was a bad show. There was a few other factors, like you said. It was in production purgatory for a
Oh
long
wait, they
time.
already are spinning it all off. Remember the whole Warner Discovery thing?
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
that's kind of
The, the,
already
the-
happening.
yeah, yeah, you're right. I totally forgot about the
Yeah,
Discovery Act merger. Yeah, I forgot all about
yeah, because
that.
it still needs to be. It's still in the what is it? FTC that would approve that
Yeah,
Federal Trade Commission.
per-
Yeah, that's still in
per-
their pipeline for getting the merger approved. But totally
probably will
spaced on that.
happen. Probably will happen kind of mid next year where
Yeah,
we get an
that sounds
announcement.
about right.
Yeah, but it is. What are your thoughts on Why the Last Man?
I've
You've
been
been,
enjoying it, particularly, of course, 355. I think she's the standout character, and
obviously,
as I think, based on what I've read of the comic, is one of the better, like, more interesting characters as well.
yeah,
Of course, having Diane Lane as his mom's, like, as the president is phenomenal casting.
yeah,
I don't really care much for a lot of their political side of their story. It's very ham-fisted, which it kind of is supposed to be. It's allegorical, which is
yeah,
kind of supposed to be hitting you over the head with it. Um, but like it feels superfluous. Like I'd rather the group solely focus on just her two kids.
mhm,
Like just what's going on with Hero and what's going on with York, and that's it. We don't need the DC storyline really. Maybe a check in once a year, or every once a couple of seasons.
yeah,
It'd work I think enough without it being an overarching. Hey, we're gonna tell all three stories at the same time structure
sure,
because inherently one of them is way more interesting.
yeah,
So if it's not treated as the A plot, which is it's the humanity's last hope, that better always be the fucking A plot. When
yep.
it's not, it hurts I think the flow of the show.
That's fair. That's fair. I will tell you, in the comic, the balance is a lot. There's a much different balance. It is more about Hero and York stories than it is about DC. I think this had to do with because 355, Hero, and York aren't big names in Hollywood. They're just like these actors aren't huge names, and Diane Lane has that star power behind her. She's been around for a long time, so I think that's kind of why they're steering it that way. I don't expect the story to stay. I don't expect DC to maintain a huge focus should the story carry on HBO Max or on another network. I think over the next couple of years, I think that dwindles down. And we get more of York and Hero, but by that point, will it have done damage to the casual viewer? Will they be like, okay, I'm not really invested in York at all, so why bother?
Yeah. It'll be curious to see if it does get picked up, but definitely worth something keeping an eye on. Like I said, it's been at least enjoyable. It's not bad.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's like, oh my god, I need to watch this every week kind of good. Well,
No, 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 no.
it's not like I was getting up at 4 a.m. to watch Mandalorian on my 4K before going to work. Like it's not that.
Well,
It's not.
they're not all gonna be home runs, man.
No, it's
Sometimes
not. Like
a ground rule double is just as good
it's
to fill
fine. It's
time.
just there's a difference. I think Hulu was hoping it would be that kind of appointment viewing television show when it's not. Like even The Walking Dead really wasn't beyond the first season.
No,
Once Shane left, really, like
yeah.
season two, it kind of.
Season two,
And that
yeah,
was the whole Frank Darabont situation. We became a legal fucking nightmare, and they had to pay him a shitload of money.
a
It was
lot
a
of
lot
money
of
for
money.
that, and he
And they're
ended up coming
still
back
stiffing on him, I
anyway.
guess. They haven't paid it all. Like,
Yeah,
so he's still got to go after them for it. It's like, AMC, come on. You got the money. What the fuck
yeah,
you doing? But that's a whole mess
yep.
and a half. So moving on, what do you want to hit next? Do you want to do Fandome? Do you want to talk a little
Let's
bit
do
about?
Fandom because there's a few things there I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Oh,
Let's.
speaking of, while I have this, I just thought of it. I'm gonna put it out there. Post show, we'll watch the Uncharted trailer because I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. Oh,
That'll
I
be our
didn't know.
post
Okay.
show for anybody who's here in chat right now.
All right. Yeah, we'll get a post show viewing of Uncharted.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So yeah, we're gonna do the DC Fandome, which occurred, was it the 16th? That sounds right.
So last Saturday.
Yeah, last
So
Saturday. So that'd be the 16th.
that was
It was a little shorter of a window this time out. They obviously didn't have as much to do because of COVID has really slowed down their productions pipeline. But we still got a lot of teases and more content than I thought we were gonna get. Like I didn't think we'd get a sizzle reel for Fury of the Gods. 'Cause
yeah,
that really hasn't been in production long.
and a slight teaser for the Flash movie. I mean, got
Yeah,
more than I wasn't expecting the Flash to
yeah,
show
because
up
that
at
just
all.
went into production as well. Like they haven't done much yet there.
No.
The Batman, of course, we got the full trailer, though I think the teaser trailer was better uh, on its face, and we got some Black Adam footage. I was like, okay, they're going kind of hardcore with this, and I like it. Yeah, their
We
sizzle
even
reel was
had
really good.
The Rock calling out Zachary Levin after Fandome, so obviously he's ready to have a Shazam
Yes,
slash Black Adam like battle at some point
yeah,
on camera. So let's do it, man.
I'm
Let's do
excited.
it.
I'm very excited. And one of the things I think that could be really dope is Shazam versus Black Adam, but it's really you remember the animated one, Superman slash Shazam versus Black Adam?
Yeah.
That was actually a really solid animated movie. I'm like, do that, but with Cavill, and it'd be amazing. Just have him be the B. Superman's just the B character that shows up to like teach him how to be a superhero, and then post scene is him getting inducted into the Justice League. Pretty dope.
I mean, technically, Cavill was supposed to make a cameo in Shazam, the first movie, but then they
Exactly.
ended up just having some guy body double suit up. But apparently, like they were gonna do it, but Cavill's schedule wouldn't allow for
Well,
it.
yeah, he was
Which
very busy that year. He had a
yeah,
lot of
yeah,
shit going on
that was
between,
Mission Impossible too,
yeah,
right? That
Mission
was
Impossible,
Fallout.
Justice League, that
Oh
Netflix
man,
Holmes show. Like he was
he
busy.
was really busy. Yeah,
Yeah. So of the DC fandom stuff that popped out, like for me, I went and watched Young Justice, the first two episodes that night, and of
sure.
course episode 3 yesterday after I got back from Dune. But what jumped out to you most from DC fandom?
For me, I would say I'm not super excited about the Batman just because I am still very hesitant about Robert Pattinson. Um,
I think you're a
but
crazy
I
person for that.
okay, that's fair. That's a fair argument. I just don't buy him as the Robert Smith of the Cure version of Batman. That's what I felt like again. The rest of it I like. I think if we're going with the Society of the Owls, I like this as and they don't have to be center stage.
No,
Obviously, it's
I
the
think they're
Riddler.
entirely background. I'm doubling down on that prediction of the
It's the
Riddler
Joker,
is using these killers to expose the Court of Owls.
the Court of Owls. I'm sorry, the Court
And
of
that's
Owls.
going to be the hint, like the end, like reveal is that like Bruce's parents were like a part of it or something.
Really? Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool. No. No.
yeah.
The Court of Owls was one of the most interesting and refreshing stories and angles that they've brought into the Batman universe over the last few years, because we've been having there's the whole rogues gallery of villains is just there's so many of them with different skills or backgrounds or whatever, and of course we always come back to the Joker. It made sense to go with, okay, we're gonna do an origin story. Let's go with the Riddler, just like with the Scarecrow with Batman Begins, right? Okay, I liked that. Um, but if it's the Court of Owls, man, like in the backdrop, oh, that makes it interesting because their whole dynamic in what they do is so Illuminati esque. I like it, And if you're calling that, I like that idea, but it can really fuck up Batman, like Bruce Wayne, because he's been building up that he's trying to fight the injustices of Gotham. For what happened to his parents, but then he finds out that his parents were involved to some degree, so he has to make this decision on where he's going next. I like it. It's cool. Like I said, I'm still hesitant about Pattinson, man. I don't know why. I'm not sold on him yet. I'm not sold on him yet, man. The big thing, of course, for me is Shazam: Fury of the Gods. I'm really excited for this one because I think Shazam was low key one of the like surprise DC movies, in the last 5 years. Really enjoyed that movie. But when you watch the stills and the snippets that they showed in the tease, um, they've really put a lot more thought into the set design and the character designs going forward. So like all of the Shazam family, they all look better in their costumes. And so, and the characters Freddie Freeman and oh God, I forget his name now. Shazam's alter
Billy
ego,
Batson.
Billy Batson. God, they're obviously older now, like much older now. So we have to like catch up on where they are. So they've been playing these heroes for a few years now. I like it, man. I'm really excited for it, just because it's a great cast that they have there, and Helen Mirren is probably going to be the breakout star, just like Kate Blanchett was with um, Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
I
and
really,
Lucy Liu is the other one too.
oh
Like
yeah, Lucy
that's
Liu,
that's
yeah.
awesome.
Because Lucy Liu was low key the badass in Kill Bill. I mean,
Yeah,
she was
she was
like
an awesome
one of the.
villain.
She was an awesome villain in Kill Bill. So Oren Ishii, right? Yeah, I
Sounds
think so.
right.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm really happy for Shazam. What's the other one? Um, Suicide Squad kills the Justice League.
Oh, the
I'm looking
games.
forward
Yeah,
to that game.
yeah.
The game. I'm really looking forward to that game. The Gotham Knights one, I don't know, man. For some reason, I think it's just like a button masher. It just feels like it to me.
That looks like a
Uh,
Game Pass game to me.
yeah, yeah, but I am excited about Suicide Squad. I'm very interested, though. I will ask you about this because we saw it in the Suicide Squad. What's going on with this dumbing down of King Shark? Because we had a more sophisticated character on the Harley Quinn show, which they gave us a little kind of a quasi update, which was awesome on their part. But like, in the Suicide Squad, and now we're getting a kind of a dumber and dumber version of the King Shark, and I'm wondering what's up with
Well,
that. Like,
it's I would say he's a weird one. He's like an evil Groot is how I think he's being pigeonholed.
okay, because they need their Groot. They want somebody lovable like that, right? A
Like,
lovable
yeah.
monster. Okay. All right. All right.
Plus, I mean, you go back even to like the Flash. Like he's in there, shows up in that Justice League Dark Apocalypse War.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Like just the King Shark is a shark thing, which is
Right.
exactly Groot, but just
Yeah.
completely murderous, like bloodthirsty, like ripping things apart, and it was hilarious. So like there's something there, and I think they're mining it for all it's worth. It's King Shark. I mean, come on,
And
it's
I have to
awesome.
be a jerk. And I have to be a jerk and insert this in here. Um, yeah, you don't address him as NFL superstar Cam Newton, guys. He's just an NFL free agent. If he were a superstar, he'd have a fucking job. So yeah, don't do that. That was
Wait,
really lame of them. You didn't catch the Cam Newton part of DC fandom at
no,
all?
I did not.
Okay. Yeah, he did a little presentation, but they addressed him as now introducing NFL superstar Cam Newton. And we're like, he doesn't have a job, so how is he a superstar?
Well, you could
I thought it
say
was a
NFL
little,
multimillionaire.
hey, he's a multimillionaire.
Yeah,
Hell yeah, he is, but he's not exactly a superstar.
no,
He'd have, like I said, he'd have a job. That was kind of cheesy. I was like, nah, Black Adam, fucking stoked. I know people are like, oh my God, it's The Rock. But look, I'm gonna be honest with you. This project has been a baby of The Rock's for the last like decade. Like he has pushed and pushed and pushed for this project. So you know that they are going through this with a fine tooth comb to make sure it's a good movie. Like
yeah,
I'm not gonna say it's going to be like Shazam or the first Wonder Woman, but he's making sure that it's going to be an enjoyable movie. He doesn't want it to be crap because he's put his heart and soul in this for the like. And come on, let's be honest, the guy puts his heart and soul in everything because he's always busy. But this has been, and he tweets about it constantly. He's done so for the last 6 years. Like the Black Adam movie has been his focus, like his primary focus. And in the meantime, he's bought the XFL. He started his own fucking tequila line. He's the most selling brand on Under Armour. So like he's doing all that, but he's like, this is where the majority of my time is going. So it's like, okay, I got to give him some respect and say, I'll watch Black Adam. I'm
well,
going to
that
watch
and
it.
I hope if they nailed the Justice Society, that's gonna be awesome.
See, that's the other thing is
Yeah,
that would be really great to have that backdrop because, obviously he's been in limbo or in stasis for decades or centuries, but then he comes into, what we feel is our past and he meets up with the JSA. That'd be great. That'd be great. Yeah. I'm
yeah,
excited. I'm excited for it, man. Especially if we get a Jay Garrick.
yeah. They
If we
haven't.
get a Jay Garrick
He's
voice.
been one of the few they didn't tease
Yeah.
because we've seen Doctor Fate, Pierce
Yep.
Brosnan. What? That's
Oh
cool. I'm
man.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
That's gonna be dope, and I'm very excited. I'm very looking forward to the. No, Doctor Fate predates Doctor Strange by like 30 years as a
Yeah.
character. So shut
Yep.
the fuck up, Marvel fanboys.
Yep.
Um, the DC just didn't want to get its head out of its ass about actually using their characters.
Yeah.
Shocker. But they're if they can nail like Hawkman and Hawk is it Hawk Girl? Hawkwoman.
Hawk Girl, yeah,
Yeah,
Hawk
they can
Girl.
nail there, and especially Sarah Sahi, if she could become a recurring character as they reincarnate and you know,
Yep.
retain their memories, that'd be awesome because she's fantastic. Have her in the DC universe just bouncing around with a mace, be dope. So
But I am excited about Pierce Brosnan being Doctor
yeah,
Fate because
that's gonna
one,
be
he's a
awesome.
one, he's a cool fucking character, but two, he's got a great costume. Like he was one of the DC characters. I was like, that costume is dope. Like he's dope. And so Pierce is like in that interview here, he's so smooth about like, yeah, I'm playing Doctor Fate. I'm like, oh, he's just gonna be so smooth as a character. I
Yeah,
know it. And he's
he,
gonna play off of the Rock's just like aggressive, like Black Adam's mentality. And if there was anybody to play Black Adam, obviously, like from a artistic standpoint, it looks like the Rock, but just character too, because the Rock can be this real tough and gritty person, which is who Black Adam is, ruthless character, you know. So yeah, I'm excited for that one. But Shazam: Fury of the Gods is probably the one that I was really excited to see them give us a little snippet, and I can't wait for the trailer to come out on that one. For sure.
other trailers we got from the Fandome, The Flash. They're not
Flash.
giving it a subtitle or anything. I was wondering if they were going to call it Flashpoint. As that's I think that's a big enough term where casual audiences would understand it. It's going to get talked about ad nauseum going into the movie as well.
Yeah.
We saw two different versions of Ezra Miller's Flash. We saw the future alternate version of Supergirl.
Yep.
We got the voice of Michael Keaton and the ears of his Batman,
Mhm.
and most likely the reveal of his Batmobile, which is going to be
Yep.
just a huge nostalgia bomb, and that it's his Batcave. And we didn't get any Batfleck, but I don't know if he's filmed his stuff yet, or at least that it's done in production.
He's shot, but I don't think he's wrapped yet. He's
Yeah, I'm
shot
not
though.
sure if he's done.
Yeah.
So we know he's in it, and he's been like, "This was a blast. Like this was awesome. Like if this had been what Justice League was like, I'd still be Batman." Like that's what he was saying. So like, okay, so his scenes are going to be hilarious. I almost
Yeah.
guarantee he's going to be the comic Batman relief versus Michael Keaton's serious Batman, which is going to be great because Affleck can do comedy really, really well.
Yeah. He can.
Back for the last duel, he's in that. He's the funniest part of the movie. Like he's the comic relief for a whole 2/3 of the movie. It's great. So that's gonna be, he's gonna be like, I think that like put upon like a Batman trying to fix all this shit. It's gonna be great. Maybe yelling at Barry all the time because Barry sucks all the time, just constantly fuck shit up. Yeah, I'm really excited for that. I think that the Flashpoint, like that basis as a story to tell a multiverse story is there's a lot of potential there for both that movie itself giving us some really cool unique moments to like celebrate like what DC has done. It hasn't always been consistent, but DC's put out some like serious pop culture changing things, you
Yeah.
know? So using the Flash and his multiverse adventures as a way to maybe celebrate that a little bit is really cool. And also as a way to shake up their current DC continuity and maybe redefine what that's going to be going forward.
Well, the fact that the casual moviegoer can understand the idea of multiverse on both DC and Marvel properties now does make things easier going forward. Like you said, you talk about the Titans, you talk about Doom Patrol. We know that they're in different worlds, right, in the multiverse, and that makes it easier for fans to just buy into their existence. And then, if you really want to, you can dip in and out of those universes because the Flash has done that on the TV show. So and come on, we're gonna get a Grant Gustin cameo.
There
We
had
we
better be
are.
a Grant Gustin cameo.
I
If
just
there's not a Grant Gustin cameo, what are they doing?
I don't know if they should put the cameo or a piece of it in like the actual trailer, or if we just like, because it was not even, we knew nothing about it until the actual Crisis episode when Ezra Miller showed up, right? So why not do the same thing here? Just don't even put it in the trailer, right? Your trailer can have Batman, Keaton and Affleck, whether they're meet at some point. I don't know how that's going to play out, but you can have them in the reveal. But I say you save Grant Gustin for just a random cameo within the movie. That's what I think. It's got to happen, man. It's got to happen.
Yeah. Because the Flash is a
Even
character that has such a lineage. Like you could do a shot of him like in the Speed Force, and it's all the different Flashes. Like go
Yep.
get John Wesley Shipp in a suit and have him out there. And all the different Flashes. Like you could do like an animated Flash. You could do Wally West from the Justice League. And maybe even bring in Rosenbaum for a line or two and go do that because I think he'd be up for it. that Flash has a unique kind of like legacy in comics, especially in Marvel versus DC, because like there's been 4 or 5 different Flashes,
Yep.
and they all kind of
The
rotate in and out. You got
Yep.
Jay, you got
Garrett,
Barry, you got Wally, you
Barry,
got Bart,
Wally,
you got
Bart.
and then there's like alternate versions, that pop in and out, like they're kids.
Yep.
You got like Jesse Quick, various different like people we've seen around uh the multiverse. So like Flash is a pretty cool part of all that. So I'm excited to see where they go with it.
Yep. I am too. I am too. But man, I don't know why, but I'm really excited for Shazam, man, because I really enjoyed that first film. I
It was
really did.
really solid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. And Mark Strong is he's so fucking great at anything.
Yeah.
From just he was in that, he was Sinestro in that horrible Green Lantern movie. He was the mob boss in Kick Ass. He's just like everything he's in, he's so great. And yeah, man, I can't wait for this movie. I really I can't. I
It
can't wait.
sucks we're not getting it for such a long time though.
I know, I know.
Thanks,
At least
COVID.
yeah, at least we've got Marvel to tie us over in 2022. But it was pushed a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, they pushed a bunch of their stuff, which understand they're still getting us 3 movies next year, even with pushing dates. So like,
We're still getting the TV shows. We're gonna get the TV
yeah.
shows with no problem. So that'll tie us over.
Speaking of TV shows, Hawkeye is going to be a double episode premiere.
Yep.
So they're not going to overlap with any of the Star Wars or other content they've got in their pipeline. So that's going to be a fun time. I'm cautiously excited about that show. I don't want to like be like, oh my god, it's amazing. Like Mandalorian turned into like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
every time you turn on that show, you're like, oh fuck, this is awesome. Whether it be the visuals or the story or like the lore building, whatever. There was almost always one of those moments in an episode. I don't know if the Marvel stuff's going to do that by design
Okay.
because it's a not. I still think they're kind of slightly gatekeeping their TV shows and like as a little bit to keep them from too much, affecting everything around them, using them more as background filler explanation for what happens, which is still cool
Sure.
and
Sure.
interesting. But if those Charlie Cox rumors are true, goddamn, that's gonna be incredible.
I mean, that and Vincent D'Onofrio,
Yeah.
that alone would just be like, wow. Like it's gonna be like, okay, so what are we gonna do with Echo? Echo, okay, let's move forward with Echo. He's gonna play a major role in that. The rest of the cast is, but it's pushing us into Daredevil season 4, obviously, right?
You got
A
to.
soft
At least I
reboot.
hope he's
Yeah.
now talking about like, dude, I got old. I can't do that shit anymore. Like, which sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting to hear that because we also hear from apparently Tom Holland's throwing it out there quietly that he's done after No Way Home, and I don't know if that. I think he's just throwing a red herring out there. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I can see it taking a break, especially if they want to time jump Spider-Man's character and get him out of high school.
That's true,
You know,
but
do a
he's 24 years old. They could time jump him now if they really wanted
Yeah,
to.
but I mean, you could also, especially if they're going to lean into the like that one more day type of situation, and like what they're doing to fix it now in
Yeah.
comics, like in the actual print comics.
Yeah.
Like I could see them putting him on the back burner for a little bit while they're filling everything else out because he's clearly an in-demand actor who's got other shit to do. And I don't begrudge anyone that would want to go try like, hey, he's going to be in Uncharted. Is that going to become a franchise? Is he going to headline 2 franchises at the same time with those shooting schedules and all the indie projects he does? That's a lot. So I could see them doing a tiered, maybe he only shows up every 3 years or something, or
Sure.
maybe he's just in the, Avengers or whatever those movies turn into be like the big group movies. He shows up as a supporting character or a leading character maybe for those. Hard to really say. But he's been around a long time when you really think about it. Like
Yeah.
7 years?
7 years now. Yeah.
Yeah, like from in terms of production, like shooting
Yep.
and all that and getting cast. Like 2014 to now. That's a long time to be a character, especially when you're a younger actor who is still figuring out what y'all want to do with your career. So
But Aquaman. I don't know. I mean, I enjoyed the first one. I thought it was good.
yeah, we
Wasn't
didn't
great.
get much out of that beyond
Yeah.
a few shots. But even again, Momoa's like, God, I got hurt so much filming Aquaman 2. I think I might have to tone down some of the action roles.
Yeah.
Because he is in his 50s. I
Wait,
think. Isn't he
Momoa's
like
50s?
50? He's close to 50.
Momoa's
He's
50?
a lot older than he looks.
Okay, I didn't realize he was that old. I thought he was like maybe like late 30s, early 40s. I didn't
Maybe he
realize he
might
was.
be in his 40s, but like still, like that's to be an action star in your 40s. Like there's a reason that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's just so much wear and tear on your body. Even with
Yeah.
what all they can do with effects and stuff, it's hard.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, like Stallone, what about 10 or 15 years ago in the Expendables?
And if
I
he
think it
didn't
was
have
one.
steroids, he'd have been done by 30.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, I think there was one scene where there was one movie he was in with Stone Cold Steve Austin, and he broke his like he actually
He's
fractured a vertebrae in
Momoa's
his neck.
42.
42. Okay, so he's not 50 yet. Okay, good. But well, when you hit, I speak from experience. When you hit your 40s, like you just don't bounce back from those bruises like you used to. When you're in your 20s, you kind of like, okay, a couple days you're good. Takes a little longer when you're in your 40s to bounce back from jumping and landing around everywhere on your joints. But who knows, man? Maybe they'll just start using stunt doubles more. Don't know, but I think this is a point where we see some of these guys kind of bow out and move on, and that's fine.
And then you got Hemsworth being like, "Fuck it, I'll be Thor for forever. I don't care." Like,
Yeah, I mean, like he's
yeah,
just a freak of nature, man.
yeah,
He's
he's
just
insane.
yeah. I mean, but the thing about him though is not only does he fit that, he's so fucking funny, man.
Yeah,
Like he's just a naturally funny guy. Like everything he's like the comedy stuff he's in, like in Ghostbusters, other movies like that. He's just hilarious, man. Like you can't hate the guy. He's a giant man, but but he's funny though as
yeah.
well. And he's
He
like
was
the
like,
nicest guy in the world.
if Cena decided to be an actor his whole life instead of going to wrestling,
Yeah,
that's pretty close to Chris Hemsworth in
yeah,
terms of like what he can do with physical comedy. Because Cena's amazing at it, but like he'd been a wrestler for so long, he didn't really act until he was pushing 40 at the time.
yeah,
So
yeah,
like if he'd done acting the whole time, like that'd be really interesting to see like where that fork would have led him on his career.
yeah.
But because his
It's
Peacemaker
like
that looked amazing.
God, oh that trailer guy. Oh man, I just the scene with the eagle hugs him.
Yeah.
He's hugging me, Dad. He's hugging me. Oh God, this is just
Yeah, Robert
yeah.
Patrick, like crazy like conspiracy theorist guy is his dad. Excellent.
But the thing that okay, so you're wondering like, what is this guy like outside of that stupid uniform? And he has 80s rock posters in his bedroom. He dances around in his tidy whities. Like that's what I kind of envisioned the Peacemaker to be like when he's out of uniform and not working. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly like that. Kind of a guy kind of lost in his own little time. It's like, okay, I have a feeling it's going to be one of the hit shows. I really think it's going to be.
Yeah, it's
I
only
think,
6 episodes,
yeah.
directed and shot and written all by James Gunn,
Yep.
which lends me to be like, "Oh, he had a vision for this." And I can't remember what it was. One of the talk shows he was on. He was like, "Yeah, I was after production wrapped, and we were all at home working on Suicide Squad, and like post production was very quickly wrapping up."
Yeah.
He's like, one night I just was like, "I got to do something with this character," you know. And he said, like in a night, I basically was like, "Yeah, okay, I know we're doing it. Like, here's 6 episodes, go." Like it was just one of those like lightning in a bottle moments.
They were probably watching dailies. They're like, God, we got to do something more with this character.
Yeah.
Like, this is like, seriously, like, this is so fucking good.
Yeah,
This
like
is
Cena's
good.
having a blast doing it. Like I remember when that empanada story hit the internet, and he they show the shot of him just sitting eating the empanada over
Rada.
39 takes, and he ate all of them. Fucking crazy person. Like he's an
Yeah.
insane man. Like you don't do that. That will fuck you up. Ugh. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it because the guy is very underrated as an actor,
Yeah.
and he can do comedy so very well.
Yeah.
Give him a James
Yeah.
Gunn comedy, it's gonna be phenomenal. Can't wait to see what it looks like.
Yep.
And then 2 last things we got really just more like talking about versus any sizzle reel stuff. The Static Shock live action movie, which
Yep.
about time. Like, come on, DC
Long
again.
overdue.
Like, I'll give them this. They did Black Lightning, which was actually pretty good. Chris Williams is awesome as Black Lightning. That kind of older, I don't give a shit anymore. Black Lightning, it was great. But I mean, Static Shock. I mean, kids like like my generation, we grew up. Static Shock was on TV.
Yeah, and it was a big cartoon. It was a big cartoon.
It was part
at
of the
time.
DC animated universe.
Yep.
You know, like Green Lantern was popping up, Batman was popping up. He was part of their crossovers with Justice League.
Yep.
You know, you got to have him in. You got to do something with him. And he never showed up in Black Lightning. Like, come on. What are you doing? You know, so finally we're getting there. Michael B. Jordan's production company is going to be helping out with the production on that. No word if he's going to be doing any of the Black Superman stuff, which they're talking about on HBO Max. I imagine the Green Lantern thing's probably still on the back burner. If they're going to
Yeah,
fast track anything post Peacemaker, it's probably going to be the Michael B. Jordan Superman project.
probably. Yeah.
That would be my guess, as that seems to have some wind in its sails as opposed to Green Lantern, which sucks because I think Green Lantern would be perfect for a live action series. Like
Yeah, but you
their
have to
lore,
remember.
like the War of Light would be so fucking cool.
Oh yeah, but you have to remember that it's been a while since we had a Superman property come out, right?
Yeah,
We have a
well,
Batman.
actually
We
get
have
to be Superman too.
Yeah,
Like,
well, we have the Cape Crusader TV show, which I'm excited for because it's like the old animated series.
and the
Yeah, so
Batman
I
apparently similar to Peacemaker, they shot the show. Like
yeah
the
yeah
show is pretty much, from what I heard, is still happening. But
yep
since the movie's so far out, we're not hearing anything about it. But like,
yep.
it's a Jeffrey Wright, like, Jim Gordon show for 6 episodes in the lead up to. It's like a prequel, I think. So it's like,
I think so. I think so. But is it? It's not supposed. It's supposed to. Is it coming out before the Batman,
I
or are they
thought
going to
it
release it?
was, or in the
Because
immediate aftermath. But
yeah,
we
there
didn't get
just
any
hasn't been a
news
lot
on
of
that from
yeah,
Fandom, which was odd. So maybe they scrapped it.
possibly,
Maybe they're waiting to
possibly,
see numbers on Peacemaker.
maybe,
Who knows?
maybe.
And then we also got a Blue Beetle little
Yep,
talk.
yep.
Similar one where it's like, come on, DC, great character. Get
Yeah, man. I
live,
like Ted.
revel in your characters here a little bit.
I liked the Ted Cord character, but I really liked how they went the full like Latin culture with Jamie Reyes
Yeah,
taking over and having actual powers with the blue scarab. I liked that approach, and I've liked that beetle, that iteration of the blue beetle. And I forget his last name, but Zolo, the kid that's playing Miguel in Cobra Kai, he's going to play Jamie Reyes. So I think it's a great casting move, and the director, producers, they're all Latin, they're all Latin. So culturally, that this is the focus of the film. I'm happy for him. Just like Static Shock getting his own movie, and then, they're going to talk about the majority of the production team will be African American or black. I'm like, hey, great, that's cool. Like, let's give a shot to a character it's long overdue, and there are people out there that are in the industry that are up and coming that want to work. Let's give them a shot and see what we have. Let's see what we have there. And I have a feeling that both Static Shock and Blue Beetle are gonna like they'll be accepted and responded to. Like, they'll come to the theaters for those movies. Yeah.
I agree.
So
Especially for me, like I'm imagining already like where they're gonna go with like the Static Shock. Like that's gonna hit really well.
yeah,
I'd
for sure.
imagine that's got to be first for me.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah,
think you do that, and again that's part of if you want to have a continuity leading up with your younger heroes, and maybe like what Young Justice did, have Shazam kind of go back and forth
yeah.
as his alter ego and his superhero, persona. It's because Jamie Reyes in Young Justice seasons 2 and 3 was awesome. The whole like backstory with the Reach and like the invasion stuff with like getting really deep into the DC lore with they have like a
Oh
rivalry
yeah.
with like the Green Lanterns and stuff
Oh
is
yeah.
that's really cool. So I hope we get to see some of that in their live action properties instead of and I'm hoping this Peacemaker thing shows them you can do it in the shows too.
Yeah.
Put it in the shows. Watchmen should have already showed you that because Watchmen
Yep.
was amazing.
Yeah. It
Watchmen was
was
appointment viewing. It lit the world on fire. It was so good. And I
yep.
still go back and watch and listen to that soundtrack. It's so good. Putting some of their stuff on HBO Max, I think, is going to do them well. And a lot of these characters would do well on there. Like a, I don't know what you would call them, like the Outsiders or something kind of show where you'd have like Static and Blue Beetle and maybe Arsenal and like, you do like various other characters are showing up. I think it'd be
Yeah.
pretty cool. And it'd be,
You could call them the outsiders. That'd be a good way. You
yeah,
don't
because
have
that
to
was
have the
part of
original name.
season
Yeah.
2 or 3. I can't remember what season it was because Young Justice has been such a weird. Here's one season, 2 seasons later, here's season 2. 4 years later, here's season 3. Like 2 years later, here's season 4. Like it's been such a weird production, like
Yeah.
history. I can't keep track of what happened where. I need to go back and do a whole rewatch of that because it's a really good show. Better than that, we got Titan season 4 being announced. I don't think they said Doom Patrol's coming back,
I don't
but Doom
remember
Patrol
them saying
season's
it
not
yet.
done yet either.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe they will, because Doom Patrol's been awesome. Brendan Fraser is fantastic in that show.
I'm glad it's revitalized his career because he's one of those guys that got maligned in Hollywood.
Yeah,
For speaking up, and Yeah, he's had a rough go of it the last couple, like the last decade. But I know people have been like, and it was funny to see like people reaching out to him on social media saying, "No, we love you, we think you're great," and he just get emotional about it, going to the conventions when he can now. And I'm glad because I think he's a great actor, and I really need to jump into Doom Patrol. It's on my list of shows to watch, and I want to sit down and watch it. Maybe when season 3 wraps up, I'll jump into it.
Yeah, it's been great. I haven't watched the most latest episode, but it's one of those shows where every week is just like, what the fuck are they doing now? Kind of show where like one week they all got turned into zombies. Another week they fought a guy who was a were butthole, like a sentient butt that kills people, right? Like absolute fucking bonkers. Like just so like acid trip kind of crazy. And they have a knockoff Constantine, Mark Shepard, who's in a
Uh-huh.
bunch of different genre stuff. You know, from like Firefly, Supernatural, Chuck, Battlestar Galactica. He's been on a bunch of shit. He plays their like knockoff Constantine, who's like obsessed with an extra dimensional unicorn. It's it's amazing. There's no other words for just it's
Okay,
just
the fact
fucking weird and
The
awesome.
fact that the fact that you said that they're fighting an intergalactic butthole, I have to watch the show
Yeah,
now. I have to watch.
it's and like they have a whole scene in the second season where they're breaking into this prison, which is called the Bureau of Normalcy. It used to be the Bureau of Oddities. Like they would go and explore and try to understand metahumans and magic and all these things. But
Yep.
then the main character, Niles Calder, disappears. So the Bureau transforms into the Bureau of Normalcy and they hunt the weird and try to trap it and kill it. One of the things they have is a whole wing that's just these sentient butts that have legs and are that kill people. And they accidentally let them loose while breaking into the prison. And there's this whole scene of this guy running down the hallway, just screaming, "The butts are loose!" and they're all over the walls and shit. It's amazing.
It reminds me of that scene in The Boys with the baby with the laser eyes. Like
Yeah.
the comedy of these hero movies is they take it on the chin so well. It's like that's what I want. That's what I want. And I think we started that we got comfortable with that with Thor Ragnarok, kind of taking it on the chin with sense of humor. But I like the fact that this one sounds like they go even deeper because they don't have Disney restraints in terms of like
Nope.
ratings.
Nope.
So they're just like, we're gonna do whatever the fuck we want. I'm like, okay, I gotta watch the show. I know I keep saying it, but I have to. I mean, I already know the cast and they're all great actors, great cast. I gotta jump on this show. I have to. I
Hmm.
have to.
I would definitely say put that on the list. You got 3 weeks to get caught up for the finale. It's going to be a good
Okay.
time.
Okay.
All right. I think that does it for DC. We're at
Yep.
about 45 minutes. Do we want to jump into our Dune talk?
I think we do want to do Dune.
Okay, time to talk about Dune. So, if anyone is here, if you're listening, or if you're in our live chat, we're going to talk about Dune. So, there's going to be spoilers.
Yep.
There's going to be theories on where we go with the future stuff. Like if as now that part 2 is not technically officially greenlit, but the CEO of Warner Media was like, it is pretty much going to happen.
It's gonna happen. Yeah.
And it would be nuts for them not to. They dumped so much money into this. You need to finish it.
Yeah.
Because very clearly, they put a fuckload of money here, man.
Yeah, they did.
Like that, it's a movie's movie. If you understand what I mean. But like it's a watch it in the best screen you can, the best sound system you can, crank that shit all the way up. Because it's
And
gonna be a
pay
good time.
attention. And pay attention. You
Yeah.
have to pay attention.
Like it for me watching like Fusion, have you read the book?
Yes.
Okay, I have not. I've perused it and have experienced a lot of like what people have talked about doing over the years. And I think when I was a kid, I saw that sci-fi miniseries vaguely. I remember there being a James McAvoy thing because he's in
Okay.
that.
So the sci-fi one, not the David Lynch
Yeah,
one.
the
Yep.
sci-fi one. I vaguely
Okay.
remember that because that was right around the time of Farscape, which now there's been a whole thing
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
on with Claudia Black's thread, which is a great thread. That whole story is pretty cool about how his advice he got from her was you have to like really believe in this shit because
Yeah.
it makes no sense on the page. You have to
Yep.
like fucking like live it to be good at it. He's like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's really good advice. But for me, Dune was an awesome movie. Like that blew me away. I was like, I knew it would because Denis is it Villeneuve?
Villeneuve.
Yeah,
Villeneuve.
he's
Denis
maybe
Villeneuve.
the best working director.
Right?
Like everyone wants to talk about Chris Nolan, but I think he is obsessed with having sound murder dialogue. But his movies are still visually really cool. I just think Denis better, like does a little less, but does better stuff. Blade Runner
Where's
2049,
he?
Arrival, holy shit moments in theaters.
Is he past David Fincher? Is the question I have for you, because David Fincher is also a guy where sounds, music, score, everything comes together into this like just this event whenever you watch a David Fincher film.
I
Seven,
would, but then again, that
Fight
for
Club.
me, Fincher stuff, it's just not something that interests me. Like his
Okay.
subject matters don't often make me go, I want to watch that.
Avant-garde style storytelling is like
Yeah,
with Fincher,
and
yeah.
whereas Denis stuff is sci-fi.
Yeah.
It's maybe sci-fi action, which is exactly me. Like I want
Okay.
that. And he's the
Sure.
perfect director for it. I remember Arrival in 2015 blowing me the fuck away when that twist happens and you realize
Right.
it's not a flashback, it's a flash forward, and how she's like understanding that she's like seeing through time, and how that like breaks the story, because you think the whole thing is a flashback about how she lost her kid, and
Yeah.
how her relationship with Jeremy Renner fell apart. But then you
Yep.
realize, oh, they just met. They haven't known each other this whole time. The movie has all been constructed to believe that that's a flashback, and then turns on a dime. It's not. Incredibly cool moment, like of just no action, just thinking through the plot. You go, holy fuck, that's incredible. Same thing with Blade Runner 2049 when Ryan Gosling has that breakdown when he realizes he's just a regular replicant, like he's nothing special, and he freaks out and he puts all the pieces together of who Harrison Ford's daughter is. Very cool. And like again, not an action scene, it's just him sitting with his characters and just seeing what happens in these incredibly shot worlds that he makes. And you know, he's the perfect director for Dune. It very much is Game of Thrones in space.
Yep.
That's not an inapt description at all. You can 100% tell that House Atreides is House Stark, how the Harkonnens are House Lannister, and go. They put it in space. Very, very cool. And some people are saying it would have been better as like one of those 10 to 15 million budget, properties on whatever streaming service it would have gone to. And that
Yeah.
may well be the case because there's a lot of political intrigue that very much gets kind of pared down here. They could have leaned into it more and done it as a trilogy versus a was it duology part
Duology,
two.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, like they're gonna do it in two parts instead of three. I think the story could have worked in three, but with the cast you've got, I don't know if you could swing three movies in a contract because they
Yeah.
got some big heavy hitters.
Yeah.
Don't know if you're gonna get three movies out of Oscar Isaac, even though he really wouldn't be in all three because of his character, or like Brolin or Momoa, Ferguson, Chalamet. That's a lot of people that are you need to be locked in. Plus Zendaya and Bardem and a whole bunch of people. So it's like holy shit, that's a lot. So doing it in two, I get it. I wish they'd have done it back to back. Can't believe they didn't sign off on that.
Yeah.
Because when did they start shooting this? This was pre-COVID, right?
Yeah, this was early 19, I'm gonna say.
Yeah,
Early 19, like
this
very
was supposed to be
early
out
19.
last year.
This was supposed to be out like early last year, like early, and it got pushed back. Like what we're watching, I think this was the fourth pushback of Dune, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was a lot.
It was a lot because it was supposed to come out early 2020, and before COVID even hit, it had got pushed back. And then when COVID hit, it got pushed back twice, and then earlier this year it got pushed back a little bit longer to to October. So because it was supposed to come out in what, July, I think it was, the
Originally,
beginning of
yeah.
this year. Yeah, and they pushed it back to October. So I think it's been pushed back four times, three, four times. But yeah, man, it just yeah, you're right. They spent 170 million dollars, and the great thing is that they've already made 130 million internationally off of it in 2 days. So people want to watch this movie, and I'm very happy about that. I mean, Denis Villeneuve has an international presence. Obviously, like Europe is going to go watch this movie because of his
Yeah, Blade
name.
Runner 2049 did very well there.
Yes, it
Bombed
did.
horribly here, which
Yep.
is why we won't be getting any more sequels.
Nope.
But I think his style of it's a slower pace, it's sit on your shots, it's let the world do the storytelling for you, which is a lot different than most directors. There's no like frantic kinetic chase sequences and
Yeah.
things like that. Things are slower, they're more methodical, and it's more on the acting, like it's all encompassing, right?
Yeah, yeah,
versus this is where like John Wick's it's all about the action and choreography.
yep,
Nothing else matters. Everything
yep,
else is just set dressing. There is no set dressing in his movies. It's all a key component. And I think that kind of can turn people off a little bit because like you said, you got to pay attention. Like
yep.
you can't just turn your brain off for his movies. They're not popcorn action movies, you
No,
know?
no.
And I think sometimes that can hurt. Like Blade Runner 2049 was I think one of the best movies I've ever watched, but people don't a lot of people I know don't like it because it wasn't what they wanted,
Yeah,
despite the fact that it's still great.
yeah,
And I'm glad to see Dune seems to have not done that. It seems to be hitting. Like my theater for COVID time was pretty well attended. People were, wanting to watch this movie because whether because they knew the the book, they watched the original like the was it Kyle McClanahan? Is that
yep.
David Lynch?
That's the David Lynch '80s
Yeah, 80s
miniseries.
movie, whether with the miniseries from the various different adaptations, or of course from the marketing of this movie. It was pretty well attended. So I'm really hoping it does well, and I want part two so badly. But sadly, we're gonna have
Yeah,
to wait at least 3 years.
yeah, man. One thing you pointed out was how Denis Villeneuve's style, letting the characters, letting the acting speak for itself to push the story along. This was in stark contrast to the original, much maligned but now kind of a cult classic miniseries by Lynch. It does not hold up well. Let's be real. That did not age well. That show. And Lynch is a very weird cat. He's a very weird twin. I mean, Twin Peaks. Come on, that's all you have to say when you think of David Lynch. Twin Peaks. That explains everything, right?
Yeah.
So that show had to, because of the mythos and the story, so much behind Dune itself, that they had a voiceover that would basically intro every single part of the series, and throughout each episode, which should like basically a narrator. And what wasn't narrated by this narrator, Kyle, was it McLaughlin? I forget his last name. McLaughlin.
I think
McLaughlin.
it's McClanahan, I think. But I
McClanahan.
can't
McLaughlin.
remember.
Kyle McLaughlin. I think. I don't know. Anyway, he played. We was supposed to be a young Paul Atreides, which he was like in his 30s, which just goes against the book because he's supposed to be a boy. Um, he whenever the voiceover narrator doesn't tell you like what's going on, he has his own voiceover in his head, and it just there's just so much going on with like so many people talking on the TV show versus this where unfortunately if you don't know enough about the book or the story itself or you didn't watch any of the older shows, you have to really listen because they don't go into full detail about the Bene Gesserit, what they really, really are, until like as the plot moves, you'll hear snippets, right, with him and his mom talking, and Paul and his mom, hearing about the Harkonnens, which they called them the Harkonnens on the TV show, the Harkonnens and their background and their involvement with the planet Dune, things like that. The Muad'Dib, the Chosen One, things like that. It's just touched upon briefly, like here. They don't really like have someone on voicing over explaining everything. So I think people that didn't watch the original stuff or haven't read the books are probably a little lost. I'll be honest with you. And they probably were like, yeah, I really didn't like this movie. It was a little slower because they really didn't have someone guiding them through. But like you said, you dipped it out a bit enough to know a little bit about this stuff. So when you hear it, you're like, okay, I know what that is. But the good thing about it, though, is if you know enough of it, you get to see the beauty of the movie. It's a fucking gorgeous movie. Even on the planet Dune, which is a desert, it's great, it's beautiful. But the acting, like you said, star-studded cast, like holy crap, it's just amazing.
Okay, you seem to be stabilized. You got very robotic there.
Uh-oh. Well, if I robotize again, let me know.
All right, we'll
I'll
do.
tran I'll transform back to my human form. So yeah, it was just an unbelievable, like just an unbelievable 2.5 hours. It didn't even feel like 2.5 hours to
No,
me, man.
it
Like
went
it did
fast.
not. It went really, really fast because all of a sudden, boom, we shoot to black. Credits come in. I'm like, wait. I look at my watch. I'm like, holy crap! It has been 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
I started at 5 o'clock. It's 7:30 now. I'm like, wow, that did not feel like it was 2.5 hours of my time at all. The music, great. Just the audio of the movie, just unbelievable, man. Like, Hans Zimmer just came through again. We didn't doubt Hans Zimmer was going to nail it, right? I mean,
Hmm.
we knew he was going to knock it out of the park. But I am excited, and we're going to get a part two. But like you said, it's going to be 3 years away because of COVID and contracts and availability of everybody. It's going to suck, but I can't wait to see it, man. I really can. It was a beautiful movie. I was so happy because this movie did the book justice. The last two adaptations weren't really. they didn't really hit it out of the park. And Villeneuve is doing something with HBO Max to do the Sisterhood of Dune TV series. In the meantime, so at least we're getting some type of product, some type
Yeah.
of IP from the IP, and until we get the sequel. So yeah, but you're right, man. Had this show been on, had it been like a 6 episodes or 6 or 7 episode mini series on HBO Max, it would have been so much better. We could have really
Well, I
stretched
don't
out the
know if it would
story.
have got the budget for some of the special effects they did.
No, no, that's true because they did spend a lot. They spent a lot on
Yeah.
special effects. Just the machines and all of that stuff was intense. Like
Yeah,
you could
like
tell
the
they spent a
shots
lot of money on
of
that.
the space travel, like the little bit we got. I'm like, I don't know if you'd get that so much in the show, in a
Yeah,
show version. Some
yeah,
stuff would have to be pared down.
yeah.
And I don't know if the cast would have been the same too, you know,
That's true. That's
you know,
true
if they
because
would have all
they.
wanted to stick around for that many, for a season of that.
Yeah, that's true. But we're finding more and more of these folks doing these
Yeah.
streaming
Some will.
shows. They like
Yeah.
these streaming shows because it's artistically better than network TV. So that's why they do them.
Yeah. It's like
I
the
don't
best
know.
of both worlds.
Yeah. They get the nice paycheck, but they get to do like an actual series that stretches out. So yeah,
And I think to
but
this
I
movie's a credit for this movie is that it's post Game of Thrones. So like people, the general audience is more used to some of these archetypes and these kind of like
yeah,
cutting against the grain of expectation kind of storytellings. And obviously
true.
it's a sci-fi show, not a fantasy show, but a lot of the tropes, like again, like you can tell, oh, that's House Stark. You can tell, oh, that's House Lannister, and
Yeah,
they are exactly that. And that's exactly what happens. Lannister betrays them, and he dies.
yep,
Spoiler.
yep,
Uh, so like that's not something that's unexpected. It's just really well done, and I think that's a movie like this, a story like this being told in a movie. I like again, it did. The '80s was a terrible time to try to adapt it. Like audiences weren't ready for that, and I don't know if the technology was either. So like, it was a weird time to do that adaptation, and I hope part two sticks the landing because the setup was all great. Like in this movie, the big harp on it has been it's all set up, which I like because that's a baller move from the director to be like, no, no resolution. WB better give me the fucking money. They better cut me a check for part two because it's all out there, and you're just letting it hang. Mic drop, walk away if they don't. Like that's pretty baller. I gotta
yeah.
respect him for that. Like to just say, fuck it, we're not giving you a conclusion. This will not be a standalone movie. You need to give me part two, WB. Which was pretty cool. I dig
Well, I
that.
mean, in one day, I mean, what a day and a half, they've almost met their budget for the film.
Yeah,
So, if they start turning a profit here in the next by the end of the weekend, then they're gonna greenlight it. Come Monday, we'll hear that Warner Brothers has announced they've greenlit part two. You
yeah,
know, so
yeah,
um, I was very happy. If I had to give a score, I would probably say like it's a 9 out of 10. Really, for me,
yeah.
it wasn't
That's
like
same
10
here.
out of 10. 9 out of 10 because it was just great. The time flew by. Characters are wonderful. The soundtrack was unbelievable. Like everything was really good. And as someone, like I said, a fan of the book, I've watched the series as a kid. I was really happy with the interpretation here because it felt true to the book, where the last two really were missing something from the book, and that was that whole visceral aspect of it. Even though there's space travel, there's all these different things. There's this whole visceral thing of being on each planet and struggling with what's there, especially like the planet Dune, how it's that desert planet, and I really liked it. I really did. I can't wait for part two. I cannot wait for part two.
It's gonna be a good time. Well, we're at about an hour five ish.
Yeah.
Done my math right. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, man, just catching up on things. I may just go ahead and wrap up Doom Patrol here before we get to that December to remember of all of that content
Yes.
coming in. So,
Yes, I'm in for that.
so I got to do this, man, because if I don't do it now, I'm not gonna watch it in December. It'll be 2022 before I could catch Doom Patrol because there's just so much shit coming out in December. Just
Yeah, it's every
one
week.
thing,
Oh my god.
just every week, movies, TV shows.
I have
Boom,
a
boom, boom,
whole.
boom,
I
boom.
had to put out a whole weekend to binge Witcher. Like a whole weekend's off the books, plus Christmas.
Oh
It's
man.
gonna get nuts.
And like I said, I know you're not a fan of it, but then come New Year's Eve, because we don't party on New Year's Eve, we're gonna sit down and watch Cobra Kai. My wife and
Oh
I.
well,
We'll
I
be,
don't. I eventually am gonna try to watch it, but I
you
just never
gotta
really
watch,
watched
man.
Karate Kid as a kid. It wasn't a movie I watched.
It's so meta that it's so meta. That's what makes it so good. It's so meta.
Yeah,
That's what
I'll
I like about it.
eventually get into it. I'm sure.
Yeah. But yeah, man, just I'll catch up on some shows here. I'll try to dip in on Doom Patrol before and get ready because come next thing we know, it'll be December and we're gonna be going crazy with content. Maybe like you said, we may have to just do one episode each week just to catch up on all the stuff that's going on.
Yep. So that's going to wrap it up here for wafer number 28.
Yes.
We talked Dune, a little bit of The Last Duel, which I really didn't. It was just a good movie and I enjoyed it. Go watch it. Dune, also go watch that. I will say
Yes.
this: The Last Duel completely fell on his face and bombed. So I don't know if we'll ever have that expensive historical piece like movie from like a Ridley Scott top tier director again, because it only made like $4 million opening weekend. It was bad,
Yikes.
but it's damn good. I was like, fuck, it's really good. It's a historical story about like a real world. There was a last like state sanctioned duel in
Yep.
France in the 1300s, post the Black Plague.
Hmm.
Matt Damon, Adam Driver, Ben Affleck. Really awesome cast, awesome story about like it was kind of told in that different perspective style, like Rashomon. Like every chapter is the same story from a different perspective, culminating in like the what really happened. And the duel was like, yeah, Ridley Scott was the right choice for that one because that dude fucking knows how to get historical drama right. And it was great. So go watch that. Dune was amazing. Go watch that. Catch up on all these DC fandom stuff because we're going to be talking about DC for years to come now at this point because I got so
Yep.
much stuff in the pipeline. And maybe watch Why the Last Man, because it's probably going to be the last we see of it. Odds are. Maybe not. We'll see. We didn't even talk about GTA, the remastered trilogy, but that's coming out in November. I'm looking forward to that. It's right in
Yes.
time for my Extra Life week of streams. So I'm going to be playing some GTA.
Nice.
All right, so thanks everyone for watching or listening. If you're on YouTube, hey, hit that like and subscribe. If you're on an audio platform, leave a review. If you're like particularly on Apple, if you have them, let us know what you thought of the show. And if you have your own thoughts on the DC fandom and the YouTube stuff, let us know down below. If we're watching on Twitch, we're gonna head over and we're gonna watch the Uncharted trailer and give my thoughts on that. I haven't seen it yet. We're gonna go from there. So thanks everyone on the edited version. See you around. Bye.
Take care, guys.